This is great. I always appreciate these invitations, and they're frankly something that I absolutely love to do. I'm an educator at heart. That served me very well in my younger years because I'm a super talker as well. My nickname in high school was Chatterbox. And so this is some of my favorite things to do, is just to spend time in community with people, talking about health, talking about wellness, talking about simple steps we all can take to achieve that step forward towards longevity, right? And these are some of the things. Tonight, we're going to talk about the power of antioxidant, free radical scavenging, neutralizing the environment around us to be able to achieve big goals like longevity, but also smaller day-to-day goals like how much energy do I have today? Do I have the endurance for physical exercise? Am I doing everything I can to support my immune system, everything I can to support my joints? And we often, as consumers of supplements, consumers of health and wellness programs, will believe that this needs to be a full spectrum of solutions, programs, details, you name it, right? You've got to plug all of these things in and do what? Check all of the boxes. And often what we find, whether in medicine, whether in health practices, or just creating a healthy daily habit, we find that it's a whole lot more simple if you can talk about foundations. Everything that we think about at the 10%, what is going to take you to your personal record? What is going to make you run faster, live longer, right? Be more productive. Get your brain on point. That 10% biohack cannot work if you have not built a sound foundation. And that is what Isotonix OPC-3 creates for the body. A sound foundation, in addition to a multivitamin, in addition to getting clean and good fats in your diet, in addition to thinking about what is the role of vitamin D, B vitamins, and magnesium in my life. We need to create a sound foundation and something that can quench free radicals, something that can work to neutralize the environment around us. Because one truth, right, regardless of everything I say here today, I think something we all can agree on, common ground for all of us, of course, is that we cannot control the environment around us. Your life is getting more toxic. It is not getting less toxic, right? When we think about the chemicals and the new to nature molecules that have found their way into your water, your food, and most definitely your air, right? We know that chemicals that are introduced into the environment, when combined, can create a lot of static, I like to say. And the human body is required at a young age and as we age and mature to manage that. And the truth of the matter is, medically, we become less and less apt to be able to manage that. That's why we see signs of aging. But it's also why, whether that's in a healthy body or otherwise, but it's also why we see premature signs of aging, premature energy decline, a premature, you fill in the blank of a concern or a health challenge that you weren't looking to have in your 30s or your 40s. And we start to see that in earlier and earlier decades of life in individuals that don't additionally practice other health practices, avoiding smoking, making sure that they're getting a good night's sleep, finding a way to manage stress. Because here's my pro tip from the doctor tonight. You're never going to be able to get rid of stress, right? So what we have to do is get very good at managing stress. And this all comes back to, if I want to have a healthy body, if I want to take a step forward into longevity, if I want to start my week on, I don't want to start my week on my back foot, but I want to start it on my forefoot, then I need to make sure that I'm taking steps consistently to achieve those goals. And we just think that Isotonix OPC-3 is a wonderful way to do that. So that's my little preamble. That is my introduction to what we're trying to do here today and why I believe that OPC3 and the isotonic delivery system is the answer for us to build that foundation. It's the answer for us to create wellness in a world that is not always fit for that task. This is something that allows us to, in a universal mode, and I'll explain what I mean by that, in a universal mode, have a go-to to support our health. And what I mean by the universal is 100% of people can benefit from an antioxidant that is as comprehensive as isotonic OPC3. I want to start with people that supplement or are trying to make a change in their daily habits. We often find that water finds the least path of resistance. And many people see that making a health and nutrition change, a healthy habit daily change, or a supplement change is hard. It's a new routine. It's something new that they need to do, right? We often find that people become health practitioners or supplement users when they've been told that there's a health concern that they really need to start paying attention to. And thinking about overcoming that, conquering that, being victorious over a health challenge also seems hard, right? So one of the things that isotonic OPC3 does for a universal community, a universal consumer, a universal health seeker, is it targets multiple areas of the body, and it eliminates that concern of what's the right thing to do. Where do I get started? Is there something that's going to be more powerful than something else? I just don't know what to do. And then we shut down. And we often, as consumers of health or health seekers, don't do anything at all. We get that paralysis by analysis. We start to think to ourselves, well, maybe I shouldn't be spending my money here. What is the best way for me to be spending my healthcare dollars? And that's why I think OPC3 is so powerful, because 100% of people can benefit from antioxidants that are found in the isotonic OPC3. Regardless of decade of life, as adults, we know that we face different challenges, and oxidative stress, as I'm going to discuss throughout today's webinar, is something that each and every one of us faces. We just face it to a different degree. And that's why isotonic OPC3 can be so incredibly powerful, because whether you're talking about seasonal changes that lead to allergies, or you're talking about joint health that is related to fitness or maturity, whether we're talking about cardiovascular performance or cardiovascular maintenance, isotonic OPC3 has ingredients that have been clinically shown to help the body perform in each one of those areas of health. So as we think about moving into why is it so profoundly beneficial, it's because of how profoundly amazing you are as a human, right? The human body is a concert of communication. The human body is a concert of signals telling cells what to do and having them ring out in chorus, right? In a level of coordination that is unheard of. Even computers can't. As magical as computers are, your body, I assure you, is far more magical. We know that the number of cells in the body reach into the trillions, and each and every one of those cells is sending out its own message, and it's communicating with each and every other cell. So one of the benefits to focusing on that foundation, as I described it, focusing and getting started with an antioxidant, is that it helps each and every one of your cells function at a higher level, because it helps them with communication. It helps them remove cellular debris or remove static that would otherwise impair that quick, right, recovery, that quick reaction time, the nervous system firing on track. That is the power, right, of maintaining health, a healthy maintenance of the body. That is the power of supplementation, colorful foods, regular fitness, sleep, and stress management. Because if we don't pay attention to those 5 aspects of health, right? Sleep, stress management, a healthy diet, fitness and movement, and supplementation, oxidative stress or eradicating or neutralizing free radicals that are in our air, our water, and our food, we start to decay. And I don't choose that word lightly. Decay is exactly what's happening, whether we're talking about at the cellular level, at an anatomic level, or just simply at a metabolic level. If we don't pay attention to those 5 health factors, the body starts to literally decay. It no longer functions as a beautiful concert. It is no longer pumping the way it is supposed to in harmony. Those cells start to send the wrong signals. It's a game of telephone. Have you ever done that? Right? Where you start with one message and at the end of the chain, it's a completely different message. That is exactly what's happening in a cascade metabolically in the body. You can send the correct messages or the wrong messages, but you've got to clean out the static in those trillion of cells to make sure that that happens. Whether we're talking about nervous tone, mental, emotional health, and neurologic and cognitive aging, whether we're talking about cardiovascular function and blood pumping throughout the body for better fitness or better body maintenance. That is the power of paying attention to those 5 factors, foundational health or foundational wellness. One of the things that makes this incredibly powerful is getting deep into the cell and understanding free radicals, because cells are the building blocks of all living things. They need to communicate. They need to synchronize their activity. They need to send signals, and they need to send them on time. We need to make sure that their communication is at a higher level. Cells also contain, obviously, DNA, our body's hereditary material. And one of the reasons why starting with an antioxidant is so profoundly beneficial, not just for healthy aging, longevity, and functioning throughout the day, whether that's fitness or maintenance, right? Is that this is what our cells are, what house our DNA. And today we know that the new to nature molecules that are found in our water, our air, our food, often in pulling back from some of those health practices, not getting a good night's sleep, having too much sugar in our diet, all of those things up the free radicals that are in our environment. And the higher concentration of free radicals in our environment, both an external environment, that's the world around you, but also an internal environment, what's going on within you, right? If that is not in a radical balance, it starts to damage DNA. And in damaging DNA, it can lead to diseases, not just of lifestyle, but diseases that get passed down to family members. One of the things that's incredibly powerful about DNA support, methylation pathways, making sure that you're creating a healthy genetic environment, is that starts not with you being a geneticist, but understanding that the way the body decays, the way the cell decays, the way DNA gets denatured has everything to do with your level of oxidative stressors, free radical damage within your environment, and what is your measure to counter that? What steps do you take from sleep, stress, diet, fitness, and supplementation like OPC-3 to temper an elevation of free radical damage in the body that otherwise leads to cellular decay? So when we look at this cellular decay, I want to look at it at an anatomical level, right? Because just one misstep, one signal in the wrong direction as it relates to the way the body metabolically functions, right, can lead to the difference between hydration and amazing water, right? 2 hydrogen atoms and an oxygen create water. One of the things that I want you to know is that with free radical damage, you can bump things out of the way. You can attach environmental toxins in an abnormal way. And this H2O can become H3O or H2O2, where we start to look at peroxide damage. That's the creation of a free radical. Too much static in the world around you. And instead of molecularly anatomically, us creating healthy communicating water, right? We can actually start to attach abnormal hydrogens, oxidation, oxidative free radicals, chemicals can attach in a way that they're not supposed to. And this leads to metabolic damage. Instead of creating a very simple structure like water, right? Instead of creating healthy water, we can start to create things that are toxic to the body. We can take a health practice like water, bring it into the body, and not always achieve the health that we want from that water, because there's so many free radicals surrounding our cells that we may end up leading to higher levels of decay in the body. Because what you're seeing here in the image is that free radicals, oxidative stress, toxins in your environment are actually stealing the stability of cells within the body. This is a domino effect. The more free radicals in your life, whether that is smoking, lack of physical fitness, too much stress, too much sugar in your diet, or just the new to nature molecules that are within our environment, these are at a rapid pace stealing stability of healthy atoms within the body, leading to free radical decay cascades. And that is what you know as aging. It's what you know is cardiovascular decline or decay. It's what you know is joint discomfort. It's what you know as immune decline. That is an abundance of free radicals and a lack of defense with free radical scavengers like fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, healthy sleep, movement. And what I'm saying here is a lot of people will say to themselves at this point, I've got to do 5 things. And what I'm asking you to do too is appreciate that you can start with one thing. It's never good for any of us as we start a new health practice to think about all the things that we need to do. If this seems overwhelming, this idea of decay, premature aging, cardiovascular, immune, and metabolic decline, right? If that seems like a lot to take in, understand getting started with one thing like Isotonix OPC-3 can be profoundly beneficial to put you on the right track. Again, whether you were talking about taking yourself to a next level, maintaining the health that you already have, or finding a path to recovery. Because we know at the root of disease and metabolic decline today is that a normal cell starts to decay due to overwhelming free radical damage. And we start to make bad copies of ourselves because of the denaturing or the compromise of DNA when free radicals in the environment and internal environment start to decay a healthy cell. If an atom, just to put that and summarize, if an atom has an outer shell that's not full, right? If an atom is not stable, right? It doesn't have its hands planted firmly on the wheel, it can lose its course. It can start to be pulled in a bad direction, or it can start to create a free radical. Free radicals are simply unstable atoms that damage cells, they cause illness, and they lead to premature aging. We know today that some of the key lifestyle issues, some of the key diseases of lifestyle and age are intimately linked to free radical damage that started years, even decades ago. Right? Now that sounds scary in and of itself. How quickly can you turn things over, right? Well, in less than 90 days, your cells turn over. In less than 109 days, your red blood cells turn over. So there's always a place to begin. Some of us need to take a higher level to supplementation. We need to have a higher commitment to supplementation to achieve some of those goals. But we can start to tell cells how to behave responsibly. What I have done in clinical practice is ask people to give me 60 days. I often find that we see rewards within 45 days of using Isotonix OPC-3, whether that is for joint health, that is for fitness and well-being, that is for a sense of robust energy throughout the day. So while it does sound scary to talk about metabolic decay, I want you to know that there's ways that we can step in, intervene, and start to right the ship and start to get those atoms performing exactly the way they are supposed to be performing. What is your key concern? What is your key limiting factor here? Well, when oxygen molecules split into single atoms, they have unpaired electrons. That's metabolism. So this is something that's happening each and every day to each and every one of us. You breathe in, you breathe out. You are creating free radicals. Free radical cascades are 100% normal. They are 100% necessary for healthy metabolism to create energy at the end of a chemical equation. That chemical equation is your metabolism. When those oxygen molecules split, because they have an unpaired electron, they've become unstable. Now, this is to initially spark metabolism, to spark a cascade, to spark something happening in the body. But something needs to come in through diet, stress management, and supplementation to stabilize that cascade. As I mentioned earlier, it's much like a domino effect. You flip one domino, and each domino after that starts to fall. That is the best example of free radical damage. That is the best example of cellular decay, is that each cell gets the hit. How does that happen? Because when one cell loses its stability, it just simply grabs a neighbor's electron and stabilizes itself. But then that neighbor needs to take an electron from its neighbor, from its neighbor, from its neighbor. And what ends up happening is we end up with a movement of free radical cascades. We end up with a movement of cellular decay that if we don't put a stop to it, right, through healthy lifestyle practices, but also understanding the power of supplementation, we end up with some of the health challenges that many of us face on a daily basis. I mentioned that free radical cascades are completely normal and absolutely essential to healthy metabolism, but making sure that there is a savings account on board of colorful foods, bioflavonoids, anthocyanidins, chemicals that are found in our food, compounds that are found in our food that are considered free radical scavengers. These are what allow the body to stop that domino effect and say, you're stable, and now let's share an electron from the foods that we eat, from the supplements that we take, from the things that we, and then making sure that we don't increase too much of these free radical cascades by not taking care of our bodies or consuming too much sugar, right? And so what we do is we stop the domino cascade, the free radical cascade, by inserting a very powerful free radical scavenger in OPC-3. That oxidative stress, if it's not left unchecked, or if it is left unchecked, or it is not neutralized, does lead to many of the common health complaints that we complain of today, but believe are normal for a person our age. So the second pro tip I'm giving you tonight is that what is common should not be considered normal. It is common for people to have joint discomfort. It is common for people to have cardiovascular concerns. It is common for people to have issues with immune function. It is common. It is not normal. Right? And if we can reframe what we think of as normal and say, I'm going to redefine my story, I'm going to redefine normal, I'm going to right this ship. Even if that sounds hard, know that the place to get started is with that healthy foundation, right? And the Isotonix OPC-3 can help you with that healthy foundation, because this oxidative stress left unchecked does lead to cellular damage, cellular decay, and that happens at a DNA level. Many of us think about this cellular decay as accepting aging, right? Fine lines and wrinkles, line depth, line length. But it goes much deeper than that, right? It's deeper than the skin, right? We're thinking about right down there to how well do your cells communicate? Because as the body ages, even those that choose healthy practices, even those that can say, no, I've always paid attention to stress, the sugar in my diet. I eat well, I exercise, I manage my stress. I've got Dr. D's five pillars here, right? I know exactly what I'm doing. You are absolutely right. And you've been killing it. But one of the things that we have to pay attention to is the natural decline of metabolism. This happens with age. We simply just don't fire on all cylinders as we age. And it doesn't have to be just due to lifestyle factors, right? It doesn't just have to be to smoking, lack of exercise, too much stress or sugar. It's simply the nature of metabolism. We do not generate cellular energy the way we did when we were younger. We're not all Energizer bunnies. This is called cellular senescence, where the body is given signals to start to shut down. It's called cellular senescence. Well, there are chemicals, compounds found in nature that are called senolytics, meaning they break up that cascade, means they break up that signal in an aging body to start to put the cells out to pasture, to start to put the cells away and go to and let them slow down, right? In their metabolism, in their cellular energy, in their performance. There are things that we can do from an aging standpoint that are called senolytics. Lytic meaning to break apart. This means to break apart the cascade that signals your body in aging to start to slow down. OPC-3s, and that stands for oligomeric proanthocyanidins. They're naturally, OPCs are found naturally in nature. The darker, more blue, more purple your vegetables are, your fruits are, the more potential they have to give you OPC-3s. Right? Most of this is concentrated in the skins of food, but that's where these things come from. These natural compounds are senolytics. They can break down the aging process. They can slow down that aging cascade, right? Because with age, we create more free radicals. With age, we create more metabolic demand. Have you ever heard how the concept that aging is expensive? And the reason why aging is expensive is because it takes more metabolic currency, more nutrients to do the same work that our younger bodies were able to do. A great way for you to think about this is as it relates to a vending machine, right? How many quarters did you have to put in as a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old to be able to get something out of that vending machine? Whether we're talking about a bottle of water, we're talking about tiny powdered donuts, right? Whatever your magical vending machine gives you, you had to put in 2 quarters, 3 quarters when you were a younger self to be able to get that out. I would like your vending machine now in your head to not be dispensing donuts, but instead dispensing energy, dispensing health, dispensing, right? Better hydration, better cognitive function. Now that vending machine, those same quarters that you were putting in as a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, the price just went up. It takes an older, more mature individual, an aging individual. They're now putting in 4 quarters, 5 quarters, 6 quarters. It's costing us twice as much for the same energy, twice as much for the same metabolic recovery, twice as much. And that's why we need to have a higher commitment to diet as we age. It's why we need to have a higher commitment to fitness as we age. And we need to have a higher commitment to supplementation as we age, because the free radical cascades are only getting larger because aging is expensive. What it takes to quiet down the storm is greater as we age. And that's why something like Isotonix OPC-3 can be so profoundly beneficial, because it adds in these senolytics to the body, these extra cell signals, these extra amplification of healthy aging metabolism, when your body naturally is trying to send signals to slow things down. We see it first in our skin, But we are seeing it over decades happening to the cells within our body, our vascular system, our organ system, our ability to maintain healthy blood sugar. And that is why you start to see reduced concentration, fluctuations in mood. Maybe when you were younger, you were able to kind of take a lot on, right? You were able to bob and weave, and it was all really easy for you. But with age, you start to be like, am I getting old? I don't have the same attention span I used to have. I don't have the same temperament I used to have, right? We often talk about with maturity comes less tolerance of the things around us, right? And we start to say, what's going on here? Well, one of the things that's going on is free radical cascades, oxidative stress, cellular decay or damage. This definitely is something that many of us can appreciate today in our bodies, that we may see a lack of healthy control of blood sugars. We may see a lack of healthy control of blood pressure, right? We want to maintain our blood pressures within healthy range. We want to maintain our blood sugars within healthy ranges that give us energy, don't steal our endurance. There's an intimate link to oxidative stress and cardiovascular decline, a lack of metabolic endurance, a lack of healthy blood flow. If you had a chance to listen to Dr. Jeff Strong, he talked about blood flow and oxygen carrying capacity, that is the superpower of Pycnogenol found in the Isotonix OPC-3. That is not just oxygen and blood to the heart, right? He often talks about a freeway system and a congested freeway system, right? Well, think about all of the areas of health that are important to you. We can start centrally with the heart, but let's also think about blood flow to the brain for healthy cognitive function, for healthy attention and focus, right? We want to think about healthy blood flow to sexual organs for libido, for not just sexual endurance, but we can also think about physical endurance in the gym. We know that because OPCs are senolytics, that they have a unique impact on hormones and maintaining not just blood sugar within healthy ranges, but that oxidative stress or too many free radicals in our body lead to not just physical stress, but can also lead to mental stress. It starts with physical stress, where the body has to maintain some level of physical response or amplification of its stress hormones, just to help you get through the day, just to help you metabolically, physically get through the day. And as a secondary impact, we start to see mental health decline. So whether you identify with oxidative stress and the need for free radical scavengers because you already have joint discomfort, or you want to maintain joint performance, you are concerned about immunity, or you want to support immunity, especially with age, whether you are concerned that your blood vascular system is on an aging cascade and you want to right that ship and get it on an anti-aging or age management cascade, or whether you're concerned about just day-to-day triggers for things like allergies, things like head discomfort, then you need to ask yourself, what side do I want to be on? If I recognize I have these things, do I want to put a stop to that domino cascade? Do I want to stop that train? OPC-3 is one of the ways that we think you can definitely achieve that. So ask yourself, if I now know that there are 5 things I could do, but I can get started with one because it's easier than changing my lifestyle, it's easier than changing my sleep habits, right? Will I get started with supplementation to support some of my needs? Second question I want you to ask yourself, if I'm going to get started somewhere, do I want to get started with something that is focused on the root of cellular decay or cellular decline, the balance of free radical scavengers and free radical creators? Do I want to balance my diet and support it with supplementation so that I can offset the decline of age or lifestyle? And you guys, it's both, right? It's not one or the other. Your lifestyle leads to premature aging, but aging does happen, and we need to step in and intervene with some healthy practices. Now is where I ask you to prioritize what is important to you. Do you have a diet full of sugar? Do you have a lifestyle that does not include exercise? Tell me, be honest with you, right, about your diet. Is this where you need to get started? Because often when I ask people about what their health goals are, they'll say there's so much to get done, as I alluded to earlier. And I'll say, what is the most important thing to you, right? Because of my 5 pillars, one of these stands out. It's like, yeah, I need to get more sleep, right? One of these pillars stands out is, yep, I need to do something to manage my stress, or I need to do something to take care of my diet. The message I'm trying to send here tonight is that starting with a free radical scavenger can offset the ill effects of whether or not you've identified it as lack of sleep, too much stress, not enough movement, or poor diet. And that's why the 5th pillar is always supplementation, because it's the easy button to right the ship. It is a little bit of extra juice that you can give the body as you're managing the other 4 health practices that we talked about today. So everyone is subject to free radical damage. Everyone metabolically is subject to free radical or cellular decay. That is the aging process. What will you do to intervene in that aging process? My wish for you is you think about what practices do I want to implement starting tomorrow morning, is recognizing that none of us see the decline at the first shot. You know, I often will talk about a donut. If your waist popped up and your hips got wide after one donut, you'd never eat a donut again, right? You'd be like, what just happened to me? And then that would never happen again, right? But that's not the way aging happens. That's not the insidious nature of disease, of lifestyle. It happens over decades, right? What we know today is that these diseases happen over decades. And as a result, we need to be implementing daily practices to offset that decline, because you won't see your blood vessels starting to become less, have less integrity. You don't see on a daily basis that blood does not pump from the heart as well as it should. You do not see immediately, but only after decades of damage do you start to see cellular decay and cellular decline. Because where did we start today? That your body is an amazing machine. And that amazing machine has been course correcting for decades. But at some point, due to overwhelm, at some point, due to the senescent creation of cells in the body, right? Due to lifestyle that kind of puts the gas pedal down, we start to see aging decades before we are supposed to. We start to see disease or decline decades before we are supposed to. Obesity is epidemic in our countries. Cardiovascular disease is still the #1 killer of both men and women in our countries. Concerns with blood sugar, some of the #1 concerns in our country. And they are rooted in inflammatory cascades and free radical cascades. They are rooted in what we are talking about here today. Too many free radicals, too much oxidative stress, too many years on the planet, and too many years on the planet exposed to toxins, and not enough healthy fruits and vegetables, not enough movement and stress management, and not enough concentrated antioxidant support like can be offered in OPC-3. OPCs are the most powerful natural free radical neutralizers. Let me explain to you why. Free radical neutralizers come in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. OPCs, that oligo part of the word, oligomeric proanthocyanidins, the oligo part of it means branched. It means multiple. It means many. Many free radical scavengers out there are not complex. They are simple structures. I liken this to a knot. Have you ever tied a knot? Maybe a necklace has gotten knotted up, right? Your child's shoes or your parents' shoelaces have gotten knotted up, and you're the one that has to figure out, what did you guys do here? How did this happen, right? The unknotting of that takes time. The unknotting of that takes effort. The unknotting and the creation, right, of the straight line or the straight lace or the straight necklace or bracelet, right, takes effort to line everything up again. That is what free radical scavengers do for us. That knot is now flipped over. That knot and how long it takes to get through it is the nature and complexity of an OPC-3, right? Unlike vitamin C, which is amazing, right? But it is a far more simple free radical scavenger. It is not as powerful at neutralizing things like chlorine in your water, right? It is not as powerful at neutralizing toxins and chemicals that have found their way into your air, your food, your water. What you need is something that is so complex, like that knotted knot or that knotted necklace that takes effort to get through. You need something that is so complex, so complicated that the same, like we're liking it to, how long did it take you to untie that knot? That is how it works with OPCs, where they function in the body for a long period of time. They're so complex, it takes a lot of metabolic hits to finally break them down. And what that means is for a longer period of time, they are able to create a free radical balance within the body. They are so complex, so complicated in their structure that it takes effort and many free radical pings or anatomic steals, as we're going to refer to them tonight, to actually break them down. And that means that they're functioning at a higher level in the body, a higher level than many other free radical scavengers. So they are considered the absolute peak of free radical scavengers because of their complexity. But that complexity adds another level of free radical scavenging, and that is donation. If the whole idea here is to balance a free radical cascade, if the whole idea here is to make sure that this cell is stable and this cell is stable, well, they want to steal from each other, right? OPCs come in, and because of their complexity, are able to constantly share their own electrons to stabilize these cells. But they do something else. They also donate their electrons to vitamin C. They also donate their electrons to things like ORAC. They also donate their electrons to things like green tea and the foods that you eat. OPCs can also amplify other supplements that you take by sharing their electrons. And this is a constant recycling that will happen in the body. Not only is cellular decay coming in from the outside, from the inside, not only are free radicals and toxins coming from the outside, OPCs are playing like tennis with that, right? OPCs are coming in and they're quenching all of that. But then they are also taking natural body metabolism and they're amplifying it. That's that senolytic property that we talked about. They're making sure that cell cascades, that natural energy cascades, also have an abundance of free radical, of electrons, so they can be free radical scavengers, and metabolism can keep going at this rate, not at this rate, right? And so that's the power of OPC-3s. Not only are they so complex that they take time to work through and therefore can scavenge free radicals for a long period of time, they also work to recycle other antioxidants in the body, whether those are metabolic antioxidants like detoxification pathways, or those are supplements that you're taking or diet that you're implementing. OPCs can amplify the free radical scavenging capabilities of your diet as well as other studies. In fact, laboratory studies show that OPCs are more powerful antioxidants than vitamin C and vitamin E, but can make vitamin C and vitamin E more powerful by constantly recycling them because of how complex OPC3 or OPCs are. And that's why we put multiple oligomeric proanthocyanidins into our product. Isotonic OPC-3 is a mixture of 5 different free radical scavengers at 5 different levels of complexity, so that there is a constant interplay and a constant recycling of these free radical scavengers. One of the powerful things about OPC-3 that you do not find if you look for a standalone or a single antioxidants in the marketplace is the fact that OPC-3, because of its 5 free radical scavengers that are within the body, 3 of them being oligomeric proanthocyanidins, they have the ability to work in multiple compartments of the body. Have you ever asked, how could one supplement do so much? I asked, right? How that's hogwash. How could it do so much? It's because these 5 different free radical scavengers found in OPC-3 are actually capable of working in multiple compartments of the body. That is not true for antioxidants that stand alone. That's not true for bilberry on its own. That is not true for vitamin C or citrus bioflavonoids on its own. That is not true for red wine extract or resveratrol on its own. But when they are combined together, resveratrol is working in the cells and the compartments of the body where it does its best work, while citrus bioflavonoids are wedged inside the cell, doing what they are supposed to do, but they're not getting deep and causing a senolytic message to the DNA within that cell. That's what pycnogenol is doing. So it's the grouping of these 5 different free radical scavengers together that amplify each other and constantly recycle each other and work in multiple compartments of the body. So let's look at some of the free radical scavengers that are in isotonic OPC-3. Pine bark extract or pycnogenol. This is the gold standard for free radical scavengers. If you listen to Dr. Jeff Strong, you heard probably talk about how pycnogenol is actually processed to maintain the chemical compound in its full structure so that it is not broken down or a lesser part, right? It is not just a combination of parts that the body then has to reassemble, but instead the processing or the handling of pycnogenol is one in which maintains that compound complex structure that I referred to as a knot so that it can function at a higher level in the body. Simply because of the way isotonics are manufactured, we are able to not use solvents. We are able to not use chemical compounds to extract nutrients or healthy compounds from things like the skins of red wine grapes or the anthocyanidins from European blueberries. We don't have to break that down. We don't have to make it less concentrated. Isotonics use water extraction to ensure that all of the compounds that would naturally be found in that plant, in that fruit, in that stem, in that bark are still intact and concentrated, able to function metabolically as we have described today. The hallmark of oligomeric proanthocyanidins and pine bark extract is pycnogenol, with multiple hundreds of clinical studies. We put bilberry extract, vaccinium, because we understand that antioxidants need to work in different compartments of the body. And bilberry works on very tiny microcirculation. Bilberry is also incredible at cleaning up after the party, right? Aging is expensive. Metabolism, whether that's due to pushing your body physically or that you are burning the candle at both ends, you're creating a lot of free radicals. And something needs to come in and clean up after the party. Something needs to come in and sweep out cellular debris. That is bilberry extract. And then citrus extracts or citrus bioflavonoids. The citrus citrus extract or the citrus bioflavonoids, they're there to help with cellular communication. We need to make sure that pine bark can get where it needs to go, that bilberry extract and that grapeseed extract and the skins of grape seeds are able, the concentrated ingredients are able to get where they need to go. That is the power of citrus bioflavonoids. They are the gatekeepers within the lipid layer of each and every one of our cells. They are the workout buddy that says, yeah, let's go to the gym. Let's get some good work done. They're the ones that say, as long as I'm with you, you'll probably work out at the gym. As long as I'm with you, you'll probably eat healthy. As long as I'm with you. Well, that's exactly how they function in our body. They are our workout body. They come with bilberry extract. They come with grapeseed extract. They come with the extract from the skins of red wine grapes or the bark of Pycnogenol, and they pull them across the cell membrane. They allow them to get where they need to go. So when we think about bilberry extract, I talk about it as the person that comes in and cleans up after the party, the one that's sweeping away all the cellular debris. Studies on bilberry show that it's not just beneficial for cleaning up cellular debris, some of those detoxification cascades, that it's not just good for microcirculation like that in the eyes, that in the fingertip, that within the kidneys, right? But studies confirm that using bilberry on a regular basis has positive effects on vision and venous circulation, but specifically in that microcirculation, right? Maintaining that healthy circulation, how? By cleaning out cellular debris and strengthening the capillary beds, the tiny microcirculation, the vessels themselves, making sure that they are intact, that they have tight junctions. And that means that debris can't get through, right? Bilberry makes sure that your vessels maintain a tight integrity, not a hyperpermeability. Hyperpermeability leads to immune problems. Hyperpermeability leads to inflammatory cascades. Hyperpermeability leads to immune problems. We want to keep tight junctions in our vessels, and that's exactly what bilberry is known to do throughout the body, but with particular performance in microcirculation. And that's why there are good studies on vision. There's good studies on kidney health or microcirculation. I mentioned those citrus bioflavonoids are there to promote, right, to help Pycnogenol do what it's supposed to do, to promote cardiovascular health, maintain healthy circulation, demonstrate an anti-inflammatory activity. One thing that is unique about citrus bioflavonoids is their ability to quench a particular type of free radicals, and that is what is created by ultraviolet radiation. This is why you see things like vitamin C in skin health formulas. It's why you see vitamin C put into a lot of topical solutions as well as oral solutions that are meant to protect us from wear and tear of our environment, right? But then there is the powerhouse of Pycnogenol. Pycnogenol is one of the most researched ingredients in nature. It is the powerhouse, the gold standard for antioxidant research with Horfag. Horfag has done over 600 studies on Pycnogenol, with over 400 studies being done on human metabolism, and over 160 studies being done specifically on health decline or diseases of lifestyle. It is considered one of the most potent, because of how complicated it is, free radical scavengers. As I said, with over 40 years of research, with over 420 scientific publications, and over 600 to date, when it comes to performance or mechanism of action. It is a powerful antioxidant. It can support aging, healthy aging, because it binds to collagen and elastin to help regenerate that skin. Because why? It is senolytic. It stops the body's natural signal to age. It stops the body's natural signals to start putting our cells away and saying, you don't function as well as you used to. In addition to that, Pycnogenol is a powerful anti-inflammatory, whether that's for joints, fitness, cardiovascular health, mental health, or cognitive well-being. Its superpower, however, is blood flow. Its superpower is making sure that there is healthy blood flow throughout the body. So that may mean that you see the benefits of Pycnogenol and OPC-3 for libido. It may mean that you see the benefits for cognitive function and blood flow to the brain. It may mean that the reason why you take OPC-3 is because you want more physical performance in the gym. It may mean that you take OPC-3 because you're concerned about a family history of cardiovascular complaints, cardiovascular decline, or premature cardiovascular aging. You may be doing it because blood sugar and weight management are at the top of your list. You may be taking OPC-3 simply because you recognize that a sound foundation that can help you block or neutralize the free radicals that you cannot control in your environment is a prudent, if not necessary, choice for your health and your well-being. Pycnogenol, as I mentioned, comes from the French maritime pine bark. This is unique. Not all French pine barks, or not all pinus pine barks are created equal. In fact, the concentration of Pycnogenol and the power of Pycnogenol is unique to a tree that grows in the south of France. So the lesson I want you to take from that is sourcing matters. Not all pine barks are created the same. Second to sourcing matters, how a product is handled matters. How is it processed? How is it manufactured? Does your supplement use water extraction or does it use chemical extraction? The Isotonix use water extraction. That allows Pycnogenol, that allows the bilberry, the grapeseed extract, the citrus bioflavonoids to maintain their healthy concentration, to maintain their healthy composition. It is the shape of them that is what gives them their free radical scavenging capabilities. If you use chemical solvents that break up that compound, that break up that chemical structure, they're no longer powerful free radical scavengers. So it's not just the source that matters, it is also how does your manufacturing take place? What type of integrity does your supplement company have to make sure that they are using less solvents, less chemical extraction, but are paying attention to things like temperature during their extraction, water during their extraction. Can they do this with CO2 or do they require chemicals? How do they do it? Sourcing matters, but so does handling. And that is something that Isotonic OPC-3 does incredibly well because it is an isotonic formula, one that is built off of paying attention to not just the concentration and the complexity of the compound, but also how the body delivers it to cells for absorption. We pay attention to all of those things in our product. So what are some of the benefits? Contains a unique combination of these 5 bioflavonoids. What were they? Pycnogenol was on our list. Citrus bioflavonoids, the skins of red wine grape, the seeds from red wine that have significant benefit in blood vascular health and fitness. And then, of course, the bilberry extract, the one that comes in and cleans up after the party. This product meets the needs of vegetarians. It is a wheat or gluten-free product. No soy, no yeast. We don't use artificial flavors. We don't use salt preservatives. It is a dairy-free product. And it is built on the fastest delivery system today, one that health practitioners use, not just because health practitioners use isotonics within their practices, but because the isotonic delivery system mimics a micronutrient therapy called IV nutrition or rehydration therapies. So right now, put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar with rehydration drinks, electrolyte drinks, or IV micronutrient replacements, rehydration therapies like IV therapy, right? Those are the principles that we built our Isotonic brand on, is to match that. so that we could substantiate claims like reducing free radicals in the body, promoting healthy joint function, acting as an anti-inflammatory, supporting the body through immune issues, even those that are related to things like sinusitis or allergies. Be able to choose ingredients, but also deliver ingredients that can help you with cholesterol, that can help you with blood sugar, that can help you maintain circulation to the brain, maintain circulation throughout the body for physical performance, mental performance, and sexual performance. We've got to be able to substantiate that, which means we've got to be able to deliver that. And this means making sure that, one, we choose the very best of ingredients, the complex, complicated compounds that can deliver free radical scavenging to you. Second, that we handle them in an appropriate manner so that we don't break up those compounds and make them less concentrated or less result producing. The third thing that we do is we want to make sure that they are put into a mechanism, a form factor of delivery that gets them to the body faster, and that is the isotonic delivery. It is a combination of carbohydrates like glucose and fructose that are non-GMO, that are sustainably sourced, that are responsibly sourced, maintaining a concern that people have with allergens. A low, what is called dextrose unit, so that we are able to keep blood sugars within healthy ranges, but also trigger the body that when you take an oral isotonic solution, it moves from the stomach where it is exposed to stomach acid, gastric juices that would otherwise ruin the compound. It quickly stimulates the base of the stomach to dump or move that solution into the small intestine. What does that mean? And why is that important? We do not want to expose these complex compounds to stomach acid for a prolonged period of time. Now, this isn't just true for isotonic OPC-3. This is true for advanced B complex. This is true for magnesium. This is true for any of the isotonic brands. We understand that stomach acid can damage the concentration of the nutrients we expect to absorb. So we want to get them out of the stomach and into the small intestine where they get absorbed into circulation as efficiently as possible. So we formulated a product to do just that, that with a mixture of things like malic acid, potassium bicarbonate, glucose, and fructose, active ingredients, we would be able to move these nutrients from the stomach into the small intestine in a very quick and efficient manner. That meant that the nutrients stayed concentrated, and it meant that the nutrients stayed intact, ready for absorption. The glucose and fructose that are in the product are responsible for that facilitated or that assisted transport of the nutrients from the lumen of the small intestine into the lumen of the vascular system. That is quick, rapid, efficient delivery, more concentrated, maintains its intact nature, right? So it is that complexity that is the reason why natural fruits, natural vegetables, natural compounds that are found in bark can be so powerful. And it makes sure that it gets into the bloodstream very effectively. We understood that it couldn't stay in the stomach and be exposed to stomach acid for too long. Now, you may be asking, why doesn't everybody do this, right? Many companies will choose to use fillers and binders in a tablet to protect their product from stomach acid. One of the things you just need to know is if those tablets are not created in a thoughtful manner, right? If tablets are not created, understanding the importance of getting them out of the stomach as soon as possible and able to disintegrate in the body as soon as possible, they won't be absorbed, right? So what we did is we went back to nature and made sure that we not only gave you a product that could be delivered to the small intestine very quickly and efficiently, could ensure that product was and active ingredients were delivered to the body intact and not denatured, but it also meant we didn't have to use fillers and binders. It also meant we didn't have to put things in this product that you don't want, like talc, fillers and binders, stearates that don't make sense to you. Stearates have their role. Oxides have their role. Fillers and binders have their role in supplementation, but if we didn't need to use them, we didn't want to use them. One of the benefits is, in fact, that rapid delivery, right? Making sure that product leaves the stomach very quickly, as opposed to what naturally happens with a competitor, which is 40 minutes exposed to stomach acid. Some Q&As that come up, and then we're going to break for Q&A, is what sets Isotonic OPC-3 apart from other bioflavonoid products. Scientifically supported ingredients put together in a scientifically supported formula. There is, in fact, clinical studies that have been done on Isotonic OPC-3 to support that bioavailability of an isotonic product does, in fact, outperform the exact same raw ingredients in a compressed tablet. Second clinical study that's been done on OPC-3, not just on its ingredients, is an endopath study that looked at Isotonic OPC-3 specifically on health biomarkers of vascular perfusion or blood flow. And then there was a biomarkers study that was done to show Isotonic OPC's impact after 8 weeks, specifically on blood sugar factor, hemoglobin A1C, blood pressure factors of systolic blood pressure, cardiovascular and lipid factors of cholesterol levels, as well as inflammatory factors like C-reactive protein. There are multiple clinical studies that are done on OPC-3, not just on the ingredients that are in OPC-3. I often get asked, is Isotonic OPC-3 safe? Isotonic OPC-3 is very safe. In fact, studies have been done on upper limits, specifically on Pycnogenol, into the 600 milligrams, and still showing safety beyond that point. It is always important that if you are new to supplementation or you are someone that takes medication, that you do speak to your healthcare provider about solutions that you are adding in. It's important to note that OPC-3, because of its blood vascular support, its blood flow capacity and performance, can be something that individuals that are already on blood thinners will need to speak to their practitioner about. How long does it take for me to benefit from Isotonic OPC-3? That's different for every individual. Every individual will have a different response to this. Most people will notice some level of energy, and that's what I like to focus on, are the tangibles that you can see very quickly. Less joint discomfort, a better night's sleep, more energy throughout the day. But over time, 45 days to 60 days, we start to see other metabolic parameters fall into place. Many people will say, well, sure, I have more energy, or I'm not complaining of fatigue as much, but then they will start to notice that respirations are improved, metabolic endurance is improved. They start to see their blood sugars and blood pressure start to improve. What is the advantage of taking Isotonic OPC-3 regularly? Well, these are water soluble, and water soluble antioxidants do wash out of the body. So similar, like any kind of healthy daily habit, showering, healthy diet, physical movement, healthy sleep, supplementation with water-soluble nutrients like B vitamins, vitamin C, and antioxidants like Isotonic OPC-3 need to be done on a daily basis. Isotonics, the OPC-3 rather, can stay in the body for about 48 hours, but not at a peak level. And that's why daily supplementation is necessary for water-soluble antioxidants, just like healthy fruits and healthy vegetables. It is considered a #1 customer favorite by those that use the Isotonic OPC-3. You'll hear things like, highly recommend. We're never too old to buy and try a product that's going to help our well-being. This individual says after taking the product, they really felt like jumping out of their skin. They can't thank the producer of the particular product of OPC-3 enough. It's amazing. It's life-changing. They're 57. It's made them feel healthy. It was a gift for them on Mother's Day. And over the course of days, she started to notice some improvement, right? She didn't choose better energy, less joint discomfort. She started to notice benefits in her vision. When we compare it in the market, it just doesn't have a competitor, right? When we look at foods like Now Foods or Natural Factors that have pycnogenol, they don't have an isotonic pycnogenol. They don't have they have a very special pycnogenol, but their pycnogenol is going to be exposed to stomach acid because it's not in an isotonic form, which means it's going to get degraded. Many of our competitor products don't have the comprehensive nature of being able to fill in multiple compartments of the body because they don't have things like grapeseed extract or the skins of red wine grape. They don't have that powerful cleanup after the party bilberry that helps with microcirculation, right? At the end of the day, taking one step, and I hope that step is an isotonic product. I hope this has encouraged you to use Isotonic OPC-3. What I want to do now is open it up to any questions that you may have. And I've got a co-host here, Kylie, that's going to help me do this.
I'm going to help you with this. So I do have a question. So what are some signs one can see an improvements by taking OPC, especially when they're not conscious of any of the benefits working in the background?
I think this is a really great question because this is actually how I felt. Is I recognized the science, I recognized it was prudent. I recognized it was going to be necessary for me to take a potent antioxidant simply because I wanted a better future. But I actually wasn't going to be able to measure anything. I had healthy lipids, I had healthy blood pressure, I had healthy glucose. What was I going to measure? Right. And so one that definitely surprised me was someone walking up to me and saying, "What are you using on your skin? Because you look so much brighter." And I was thinking to myself, well, I don't, I'm not using anything different from a skincare. And this was very early in my relationship with Isotonix and Market America, Market Australia products. So it wasn't that I was getting this benefit from using a branded skincare line, but instead adding in this new supplement to me. So skincare was one of the first things that people noticed in me. I will say that while it wasn't an immediate notice, because of when I started taking it, I think that some of the cosmetic benefits have maintained some level of dominance and some of the benefits that I've seen. I do think what's worth doing in this situation is thinking about energy factors, thinking about fitness factors. So is there anything that you see where you are performing at a higher level? You are able to run a longer distance. You're able to make it past a certain checkpoint in an exercise program where you're like, I normally would be like really like breathing heavy here, and I'm not. I think performance and energy levels are where you have to look at this, right? Do you find yourself less apt to be like, screw it, I'm just gonna eat ice cream, right? Because there's a lot of like unspoken things that health rewards us with, and minimizing cravings is one of them, where we don't feel like we're so exhausted that we're just going to throw in the towel and do whatever we want. Those are some of the things I would measure.
Okay, great. So another question is, if a person is weights below 60 kilos, I suppose they're asking how many caps can they take a day. I know on the website it says you can take a level of 2 capsules if you're 63 kilos. So I guess they're asking if they're under that 60 kilo range, what can they take?
Right. You can still safely take, 1 capful, 2 capful, 3 capful, 4 capful, 5 capful, because the upper limit doesn't exist. So you can safely take any level that you want. Normally, Kelly and team, the way I answer this question is it really depends, because the directions on the website and on the label have more to do with maintenance of health. So the real answer to this question is, what are we trying to achieve? If you have demonstrated cardiovascular decline, whether that's in the form of blood pressure higher than a healthy range, blood sugars higher than a healthy range, joint discomfort higher than a tolerable range, then you're going to need more OPC-3 than someone that is just doing it for health maintenance. I want to just liken back to a product that we have in the United States, which is Isotonic OPC-3 for children. And that product has the equivalent of 1 capful of OPC-3 in it, in addition to some other nutrients that we give to children in their OPC-3 to help them with their brains. And so children of very small size, nowhere, I mean, some children get close to the 60 kilos, right? But children of a much smaller size take 1 cap. And so my personal recommendation is no one does less than 2 caps. And if you have a health challenge that you're looking to pull back on, then I go to 3 caps and then some, depending on the needs.
That's perfect. Thank you. For the next one, can you overdose on OPC-3?
So this is a great question, because while there are no upper limits for the ingredients that are in OPC-3, tolerability is a completely different story, right? People just wouldn't tolerate a huge amount of it. Now this may come in the form of just rapid bowel movements, and that can happen to anyone with isotonics. Remember, there's sugar in this product, and these carbohydrates can kind of stir up the bowels a little bit after its first use. So don't be surprised if you notice that you have like a morning bowel movement sooner than you expected, or maybe it felt a little more urgent. That's possible with any of the isotonics. But that tolerability factor is someone that just started to take too much, where they just don't feel well. But you won't feel well, a little nauseated, like if you take in that much isotonic OPC-3, rapid bowel movements, uncontrollable bowel movements, that sign, your body gives you a signal long before the nutrient would ever become in a questionable amount. Now, I say this mostly for things like magnesium or B complex. There's no upper limit to be a B complex, but magnesium does in fact have a level where we go, okay, we don't want to put too much in the body, especially like in pregnant females and things like that. Your body will always signal you before you ever reach an upper limit, because what we know about upper limit studies is that you have to be like abusing an ingredient for months before we ever see harm. This is true for vitamin D. This is true for vitamin A. It's months of inappropriate use that actually lead to harm.
So the next question is it best to take 2 serves of OPC daily for adults? And if you do take the 2 serves, is it better to take it all in one go, or should you separate it from morning to evening?
Okay. Depends. The answer depends on if you take other antioxidants. Things like, vitamin C or an ORAC or something like that. Because antioxidants, to keep at their highest peak, have an 8-hour window, which means we should be taking antioxidants every 8 hours. Now, I don't want anyone waking up in the middle of the night to take antioxidants, but I am personally a fan of dividing doses, some in the morning and some at night. For me, I take all of my OPC-3 and recommend that people take all of their OPC-3 in the morning. But I also recommend that they take an additional antioxidant at night. That could be ORAC, it could be a vitamin C, it could be, a health practice like green tea. I'm a big fan of antioxidants twice a day. So it just depends on if you take other antioxidants in supplementation or diet. If you don't, if OPC-3 is your only antioxidant, I do think you should split your dose. I do think your amount, one should be in the morning and one should be before you, maybe not right before you go to bed, but it should be about 8 to 12 hours later.
So will taking 2 capfuls of OPC help with balancing some hormones during menopause?
I love this question because women's health is my game. That's what I do. Yes. Women will find that their hot flashes are a result of poor detoxification pathways. One of the number one things a menopausal and premenopausal woman needs to do is support her detoxification pathways. OPC-3 can help you with that. You can't age well if you can't detox well, but Pycnogenol has clinical studies to support the menopausal female. for her skin health as well as for her hormonal health. So yes, the answer is a resounding yes. For the peri and postmenopausal female that is concerned with hot flashes, it's concerned with complexion, because estrogen makes your skin beautiful. Is concerned with complexion, hormonal balance. Pycnogenol is a wonderful solution.
If you take too much OPC, can it become less effective?
No. But people will notice, so the answer to that is no, but people will notice that they feel like they've acclimated to OPC-3. People, and this isn't just OPC-3, this is to antioxidants in general. People will feel like they've acclimated, like they're not getting the same kind of bump that they used to get from it. I personally am a big fan of what is referred to as a washout period. I'm a big fan of, if you start to notice this happening, stopping, taking a honeymoon, and then start taking it again. And this just has to do with the way the body acclimates to just anything, like tapping. Like at some point, if I kept this up long enough, I wouldn't feel it anymore, right? The body just like creates its new normal. And so it's not that it's not working as well as it did before. It's just the body has created a whoomp, 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 based on the routines that you have been implementing over time. Disrupting that, right? Now putting it back in again is enough of a metabolic start to be like, oh, okay. So I'm a big fan of 2 days off when we start to notice that's happening.
That was very interesting. I enjoyed that. How does OPC help with diabetes, with the sugar in the OPC of concern for a diabetic?
I love this question. This is such an important question. So the combination of glucose and fructose the combination is what makes this a low glycemic product. Now that is a low glycemic index, meaning on a scale from 0 to 100, the glucose and the fructose in particular pushes the glucose down, making it a non-problematic sugar. But the most important thing that makes Isotonix non-problematic sugar in people that are concerned with blood sugar is the fact that there's such a small amount of glucose in the product. Most of the sugars or carbohydrates that are in the product are a clean, non-GMO fructose. Fructose is a low glycemic impact sugar. It controls for gastric flood in from the gut into the intestines. Fructose actually controls at the gut level glycemic index, or glycemic impact rather. So fructose is actually the controlling sugar in here.
So I have a question about, if someone is a high level or has a high level of potassium, should they take OPC?
That is a great question, because the potassium bicarb that is in the product itself. So let me back up for a minute. Potassium and sodium are fluid balancers. And someone that has a high level of potassium is sparing their potassium, right? They're not getting rid of it. And that is a water fluid balance thing. And so Isotonix with their potassium can add to that potassium level. And so my first response here is making sure that they're speaking to their healthcare provider about the level of potassium that they can take in a day, because Isotonix would not be the sole source of potassium within their day. Most of us don't have potassium deficiencies, and the reason why is because without even trying, we're getting it through our foods. So asking the practitioner exactly what is my upper limit, is it 2 grams, and then finding out how OPCs or how Isotonix contribute to that potassium. It's not a full stop, but it is a, let me do a calculation. How much potassium am I actually getting? And how much potassium am I prescribed to be getting?
So another question is if OPC is safe for pets, and if so, what dose should they be giving their very
So
out.
the Isotonic OPC-3 was not formulated for pets, but we know because of Isotonic OPC-3 for pets in a pet health line that isotonic or that that Pycnogenol and OPCs are in fact safe for pets. With OPCs, this one I am going to say is weight dependent. I wouldn't give the same amount of a pet health joint support formula or OPCs to a very tiny dog that I would to say my lab. So so I don't have the veterinary measurements here, but it would be less based on size of the dog. But if you have a dog that is 70 pounds or above, you're going to be fine with 1 capful of OPC-3. It's just not how it's labeled. So it's kind of an off-label use, and maybe looking at some of the global options for products might be another solution because they're specific to pet health.
That's a great point. Yeah, you can check your global.shop.com website if you're looking for specific products for your pet health. So can OPC be consumed by teenagers below 18 years?
We do, yes. So let's talk about the 18 and above. That is a requirement of labeling laws. And that if a product wasn't created for a teenager, we can't label it for a teenager. But studies on citrus bioflavonoids, pycnogenol, the ingredients, the skins of red wine grapes, the seeds of red wine grapes, are not problematic in a younger population. Again, we get back into the kind of conversation we had earlier about dose and weight, right? And that you would probably just do what we call King's Law. And while there's nothing in the product that is unsafe for children, you make sure that you speak to the pediatrician, the practitioner, say, these are some of the things I want to do. It does not like influence puberty in a way that we would worry that it would offset or change something along those lines. Because at the end of the day, what is OPC-3 made of? The fruits, the food that we would encourage children to take on a regular basis. Like, we don't keep grapes away from children. We wouldn't keep bilberries or European blueberries away from teenagers. There's no reason to keep the ingredients of this away from them. It's something that you always just have to check your boxes and make sure that a health practitioner is on board with it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so the last question that we have is, does OPC delay menopause?
No. Just makes it more tolerable. It won't delay it. So the severity or timing of a woman's menopause has everything to do with menarche, or when she started as a menstruating female. It's that length of time that actually dictates the a woman's menopause. It's definitely a cycle. Some women, based on physical parameters, will start menarche later in life. That has to do with weight. It can have something to do with genetics. At the end of the day, you are your daughter, you are your mother's daughter, and you'll have a very similar situation if your body composition is similar. But what OPCs can do is make menopause more tolerable. Now, because of what I said about healthy aging and healthy detoxification, you cannot detox well, or you cannot age well if you do not detox well. Some women will notice a premature menopausal symptoms when they're not actually going through menopause, right? This is a young woman with a heavy menstruation, irregular menstruation. So yes, it can have a profound impact on cycle, on the health of that cycle, but it's not going to delay what is, at the end of the day, a switch that got flipped a long time ago. It's just it's gonna happen when it's supposed to happen, when the cells start doing what they're supposed to be doing based on genes and genetic environment. But you can make it far more tolerable with OPC-3.
Well, thank you so much. I know I have learned just so much information that I'm going to be taking home, and I know I wrote down a whole heap of notes because I was like, wow, that is great. You were such a great resource, and I feel like everyone here has learned so much from tonight.
I hope so.
I want to thank you so much, especially for getting up super duper early for us, and we really do appreciate you taking the time to spend on Australia. Thank you very, very much, Dr. D.
Thank you so much again for the invitation, and I'd love to be invited back. Talk soon.
Bye.